guys, Katie Heller here with Kids Can Read and Write. Now, a lot of teachers have stopped teaching the two vowels rule, where the first one does the talking and the second goes to sleep, meaning the first one says its name while the second doesn't say anything. So today I want to talk about two vowels that go together where the first one says its name, usually, and the second usually doesn't make a sound, okay? So we're going to talk about the EA trick today, and it's one of those two vowels tricks. Here we have it, here we have it, here we have it. You're going to see this in a lot of words. And your kids, if they aren't aware of what to do with it, are going to get confused. You might hear them try to sound out the word atch, and say something like that. Or they might just keep going over and over trying to figure it out. They might go scram. Usually they'll end up hearing that and they'll make it a short A word, scram or lav. They'll come up with something different. So here's what I want you to do. First of all, I want you to make sure that they know anytime two vowels are together, something weird is going to go on. So they need to know their vowels, A, E, I, O, and U, and they need to be able to spot the vowels in words. One, because as we get to bigger words, that's going to help us know where to split up the word into more manageable chunks, especially if your kid suffers from any kind of visual processing issues or auditory processing issues, which are extremely common with dyslexia. So we need to know that so that we can split up the big words. We also need to know them so we can identify these weird tricks that pop up. So anytime two vowels are together, it's going to be a trick. Will it always be the two vowels walking trick? No, absolutely not. And if you need more information on tricks, look up the Black Belt Reading Program, because in that I go through all of them. So look in the description to get the link for that. But for now, let's talk about this EA. So just like most two vowels, when the first one sees the second, since they're usually all spread out in words and don't get to play together, tell your kids he says, "Hey, remember me? My name is," what's his name? What letter is it? E. And the other one just listens, so doesn't say anything. Now I hope they've already learned that C and the H say cha. This word would be really challenging if they don't know these two tricks, the E and the A together and that CH together. If we know C and the H play train, cha, 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 cha. And we know these two vowels, this first one's going to say its name, E, then we can easily sound it out. So it would be E-ch, each. See how that works? You want to teach your kids why this says what it says so that when they're on their own, they don't mix it up with other words and they know how to tackle it even if they forget it. Because remember, kids with visual processing issues don't naturally recognize words, and they often mix up similar looking words. So you don't want to just do sight word training and have them memorize it and then throw them loose in books only to confuse it with other words. Instead, you want to teach them the code behind the words, the tricks behind the words, and that is how they'll become very good accurate readers who will then be much more likely to be able to read accurately and digest what they're reading accurately. Because if you're mixing up words, you're not going to have the same meaning that you would get if you're reading the correct words. So let's practice using this trick. Remember, the first one sees the second, says, "Hey, remember me, my name is E. The second goes to sleep. So each time we see this EA, we're going to say E. Now, Is that always what it says? No, unfortunately not. This is English, and English is tricky. It comes from a lot of different languages, and I'm sure the authors of the English language, had reasons for what they did. But some words like head, this EA will say instead of E, okay? But here's the thing, you don't want to tell your kids it says E or and get them confused which one to say when. So what I tell the kids is start with E, okay? It's usually going to say E. But if that doesn't sound right, try okay? It's important not to confuse kids with too many choices for what that EA can say. Start with E, and then just help them adjust the few weird ones. There are a few more, but I mean, so many more two vowels ones where the EA is saying E than where the EA is saying So if you want to help your kids, especially if they're struggling, teach them E and the A say E. If that doesn't work, try So here we go. Each. Like give each person their own pencil to use. Okay, this one, we have a triple blend and then this trick and one more sound. So when you have a triple blend, you want to go ahead and help your child put these two together. Sk, sk. And then add this one, r. Remember, R does not say Please don't teach your child that this is skr. ER, IR, and UR say So this we want skr, skr, eam, skr, eam, scream, like right? You might scream. This one can confuse kids because look, we've got the EA, which we know we want them to say E for, but we also have this E at the end. Well, typically, E's will boss the closest vowel, but tell your kids that sleepy E's cannot boss two vowel tricks, okay? They cannot boss two vowel tricks. So if you see an E at the end, it's not there because it's bossing this. Nope. It's there because of this V. You're not allowed to end a word with V. So we had the quietest letter we can think of, which is that sleepy E. He won't make a sound at the end. Okay, so when you read this and when you help your kids read this, remember you start with your O or La if you're doing that. Then you say your E and your Va. Eve, leave. Or if you're going la, eve, leave. Sometimes kids have trouble hearing those swallowed sounds, like that, and you need to really emphasize la, so they can hear it. It doesn't bother me if you say or la. As long as your kids can hear it, be consistent, figure out which way you're doing it. La, eve works. Eve works. Don't get too caught up in you can only make this sound or you can only do this way. Okay? Be like water. Right? Be like water. In the words of Bruce Lee. All right, here we go. Ka-o, kol, or ka-la, kla, whichever way you're doing it. Een, kla, een, clean. Either way works, okay? Clean your room, please. Clean, clean. Or clean, clean. Either way. All right, this one. East, least. Least, like at least, we now know how to read these small words with the EA. Okay, remember you want to say E for that EA. If it doesn't sound right, try it the other way. So if we're reading this and we get heed, what's heed? There is a word heed, you heed a warning, but that's with two E's. This one is head, okay? head. This one, it sounds right, sweat, but with the EA, it means sweat. I did a Valentine's video on that. Check it out if you want to know the difference between sweet and sweat. Please don't make the mistake I made as a kid and tell your mom she's so sweat, right? This is sweat, this is head, and this is not breed. That's the two E's one. This is bread. So it's confusing because they do sound like words, heed, sweet, breed, but they're really head, sweat, bread. So there are certain things you just have to help your child memorize, and these three are in that category. Now, your kids probably haven't heard the word heed. They probably have heard sweet, and they probably have heard breed, like dogs breed. But those are all EE ones. So again, you know, if they've heard of the word and they think they have it right, they think this is heed, or they think this is sweet, or they think this is breed, you're just going to have to help them sort them out and quiz them on it until they get it straight. Because this is head, and this is sweat, and this is bread. Okay? Now, let's say you have older kids who are struggling to read. Let's talk about how to tackle the bigger words. And even if you have younger kids, I would still teach them how to read the bigger words. You'll notice in the Black Belt reading program, our words get really big by the end, even for the beginning readers. But it's so gradual and easy the way we teach it that they can do it. So even the first graders end up reading all the words. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So one of my favorite things to help kids learn to read big words is to teach them how to break them into smaller words. And what we're going to do is we're just going to find our first vowel. In this case, it's the vowel combination. And then we go one past and we break it. Okay? We find our next vowel. We go one past. We don't need to break it here because it would only leave one letter. So we're just going to leave that together since we don't have any more vowels, any more big chunks to worry about. So now we just read one part at a time. And tell your kids to do this, because if they make all these sounds and keep them separate, a lot of times they can't hear the word and they come up with crazy answers. So what you want to do is just have them read this chunk first. Ta, ra, tra, eat, treat. And then read this part. Ent, meant, meant, treat, meant, treat, meant. And just kind of have them squish those together. Now, as they get better at reading chunk by chunk, you can have them go faster. Treat, meant, treatment. But in the beginning, don't be surprised if it's very slow, but they're training their brains every time you let them sound it out. So don't push them too quickly, or what will happen? They'll probably start guessing, mixing up words, get frustrated, and not want to work with you. So take your time, be patient, give them the time they need to sound it out. Some kids are really quick, others take a long time. Let them kind of guide you as to how much time they need. And when you see them start messing up, you know you need to slow them down. If they're getting it right and quickly and they can go treatment, don't slow them down. If they're getting it right, keep it up. All right, what about this one? Do you see the first vowel? So you're going to go one past, break it there. So here we go. We've got our C before our D. So D, is, dis, ease, dis, ease, disease, which is kind of slurred into disease, disease. Those S's kind of start sounding like Z's when we say it quickly, disease. But it's not because S's make a Z sound, it's because we slur them when we speak. Disease, is disease, okay? So you don't want to hear a big, hard dis-ease. Disease. When we say it in English, it sounds more like disease. Disease. Okay, so if you want to sound like most Americans, disease, disease. But it really is like dis-ease. When your body is at dis-ease, it gets disease. Okay, makes sense to me anyway. All right, how about this one? Now here's another area where a lot of people get concerned. They say, you can't break that up one after the vowel like that. It's really supposed to be re, the prefix. And that's true, it is a re prefix. But guess what? Your kids aren't going to know that when they look at this word. And not every word that starts with R-E is a re word, okay? A lot of them say re. So what I like to help kids with is don't worry about that. Don't worry that you need to say re for this, okay? You don't have to know that right away. Let's go ahead and break up our word like this so that they have one way of doing it that they can usually count on. Because a lot of kids who are struggling to read are struggling with dyslexia. And the more things you throw at them, the more rules you make them follow, the more confused they get. So if you can keep it simple, do. And this word, I promise you, it's not going to be a big problem if you break it here. You just sound it out. Rep, rep, eat, rep, eat. And then after a T, ED says ed. So rep, eat, ed. Repeated, repeated. You see how even if we sounded out rep and then do our eated, repeated, we still get repeated, repeated, same sound. That's why you don't need to stop them. If they say rep, don't go, no, 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 re. You're just confusing them. Now they're going to start making every RE word say re, and that's just not the case. So if you teach them to just make it regular, rep, and keep going, usually they'll hear the word and can turn it into a re word after. Okay, but a lot of times I hear from the kids who think every RE word is re, they can't read the words where it's not. Okay, so just be aware of that. Don't be too rigid in your teaching, okay? They don't always have to break a word one after the vowel either. Sometimes we're going to shift it a little. Be like water, okay? Repeated. All right, one more. So this is like I repeated the directions, or I repeated how to sound out the word. All right, one more. How about this one? Here's our first vowel. We go one past, break it. Here's our next vowel combination. We go one past, break it. We have one final vowel there. So now all we have to do for this big word is read one part at a time. This is going to relieve a lot of anxiety if you just show your kids with visual processing issues just one little part at a time and teach them that's all they need to do. It's also going to help those who have trouble hearing while they're blending because they can hear little chunks. So what's this part? In. In. And then now we're on this part. Kra, kra, kra. Ease. Increase. Increase. Now, remember E says as. Increase as. And make sure you're having your kids look back as they put it together so they can confirm what to say. That's really helpful. Increase as. Increases. Like to get bigger or stronger or something, more of something. It increases. So I hope that helps, guys. That's the EA trick. Remember, If you really want to go in depth and teach your kids all the tricks, look up our Black Belt reading program. You can find it in the description, or you can just go to kidscanonlineacademy.com or kidscanreadandwrite.com and look for the Black Belt reading program. The only one that's for sale right now is the level 1, which is really made for like kindergarten through 2nd grade, for readers who, don't know a lot of words already. If you need a more advanced version, maybe you're dealing with 3rd through 5th graders or even older, get in touch with me. Let's talk about what your child knows or doesn't know and see what would be the best fit for them, because I'm working on the older ones. I have the packets and everything, but I can throw them in with the videos that teach the lessons to the younger kids, and then get you set up if you need it for older kids, because those packets are great. They've got bigger words. They make the older kids feel more accomplished, and they kind of stay away from a lot of those already memorized words, so that your child really has to attend to the letters and can't just guess. If you have a kid who knows a lot of words already but really needs to know these tricks and struggles with words they don't have memorized, get in touch with me. I'll help get you set up so you have the right program for you. But right now, if you have younger kids who don't know how to read a lot yet, the level 1 is perfect for them. So let me know if you have any questions. I hope this helped. Don't forget to like, share, and all the rest. And thank you so much for joining me. Please comment if you have questions about other tricks or words that your child's struggling with, or that you're struggling with, that you want to understand better. So thanks again for joining me. Hope this was a blessing. I'll hopefully see you again very soon.